يلا كوي بوي.
G'day everyone. I just wanted to thank the committee and the committee for the setup today and the last couple of days helping us at home. All the people that sent food, the presence was enormous. It's helped us a great deal to deal with or to cope with today. Joseph Bechara, Ibn Bashir Bechara, from Karl Mahad. He was proud of his title, like I am very proud to be called Ibn Joseph Bashir. Dad was born in 1950 in Bat Manzur, North Lebanon, where Jiddi Bashir was chief of the police station there. Dad was the eldest of the brothers, Tas, Asad, Pierre, Gabi, and joined by his sisters Georgette, Violet, and the late Latifa. While my grandfather was stationed in Beirut, Auntie Violet and Dad were educated in a local boarding school, and soon they will enter English language school, where they later joined by Tas. Many of Dad's uncles at the time headed to America, and Dad had a vision to venture abroad also. Australia was the chosen destination, and Sydney already had a location where many of our village had settled and laid down foundations of culture and heritage. Dad migrated to Australia in 1969, where he was sponsored to stay and worked as a mechanic in Cabarita, fixing all the machinery in the factory. He had a strong work ethic from day one, and he never stood still. The day before he passed away, he was still working, and I begged him to stop, but there was no holding back. Dad travelled back to Lebanon in 1974, where he met a wildflower by the name of Nabiha Maroon, daughter of the grandparents Yusuf and the great Mema Maroon. They got married that year and forged an amazing partnership that almost lasted 50 years. Together they set out on an adventure to Australia. I tried my best today. With little money, lots of passion and love, and my father's fearless dreams. They received help from family and close relatives that they set up in Sydney and became established, proud Lebanese Australians. In 1975, I was born. I kept my mother on her toes, as you all know, until my real life sister Latifa came along. She was my partner in crime. Following every step I did, we always were up to no good. She was always crying, so I needed a tougher version, and then Charlie was born. But Charlie was still too young and he didn't move out of his cot, so I had to revert back to plan A, Latifa. This time there was a lot of blood and band-aids. We felt a great disturbance in the force. That's when Big Bad Julie was born. And well, she turned out to be later. She was Dad's baby. Stuck to his hip, she captivated the whole family, and yes, she was the golden child. Residing in Auburn, our family was complete now. Dad and Mum were up every morning at 5 a.m, having breakfast together while Mum was preparing his weather for work. I would hear them talking, giggling sometimes. Mum never had an indoor voice. She couldn't help herself. Before leaving to work, all throughout my school life, he would come to my room and stack $10 in $1 coins on my windowsill and leave them.
I can't see that, so they only tell me this.
Put your glasses on. I never asked and I never said thanks, ever. But I thought to myself, maybe he's teaching me how to save. Maybe I started to save and then I started to buy stuff for my BMX bike. By the age of 17, I truly thought we were super rich. I didn't really understand how hard it was for my father to provide for us. My parents bought us whatever we asked for. Dad was incapable of saying no. My dad provided for us, his parents overseas, as well as his brothers. Dad had a greater responsibility. Dad had a greater responsibility that I only fully understood later in life. He was torn between his parents and brothers overseas. He later helped them migrate to Australia and cement their place here too. Dad, JB, Banana Joe, Amigo, Cowboy, Fish Mish, Coffee Moffy. If you heard these words, you were in his inner circle. Every word in his vocab had a rhyme, and if it didn't, he'd make one up. Dad was a very happy man, very proud. He loved his cousins and friends. One day he had a brain explosion and organised a road trip to Queensland. Yalla Biho, pack the bags. Yalla Biho, pack the bags. We went in his gold station wagon all the way to Queensland on the most treacherous drive ever that I can remember. Just to meet up with our cousins. The barbecue, the smoke down the road, the smoking, the drinking, the mezza, the laughing. Dad was a centre storyteller, and this continued until the day he passed away. Dad loved watching cowboy movies, Clint Eastwood. He would rent 10 VHS movies at a time. Bud Spencer, Terence Hill. Dad would use all the one-line comments and make us laugh for a whole week. Jewfish George and Uncle Gabby present, we even laughed louder. He loved fishing, hunting and plants, and gardening was his passion. We also used to rent a beach house in the entrance, which we were all known as the shack, and we'd squeeze 6 families in this house. That was Dad. He was all about family, and it was a simple life. He went by simple rules. All he needed was his canoe, a fatty lamb skewer, and that was his license to tell stories all night and have everyone in stitches. Eating the fish he caught at the entrance was something that he loved. Dad, or JB to me, was the coolest guy I knew. I just wanted to copy him. I want to copy him in every way. I forged his signature for 20 years, and I autographed it better than him. Just his simple signature was something that I loved. The way he wrote, the way he carried himself, and the way he walked. Dad was the coolest guy I knew. One day I borrowed his truck and I was on my L's. I went straight for a roundabout, didn't even turn, and landed in someone's front yard. I ran to the payphone and I called him. Dad, I can hear, yes, I crashed your truck. He goes, Bechara? I said, no, but I need you to come. So within 15 minutes he was there. He rocked up the same time the police rocked up. This is what the police said. Righto, you clowns, who was driving? My dad came out from underneath a street light and he saw the policeman and he recognised him. Dad went and had a few words with him and came back and then the copper goes, okay, see you later guys. Dad knew the copper from when he used to be stationed at the Neda in Auburn. My dad also developed a reputation of being the sheriff at Union Road in Auburn. If a hooligan was driving down the road and doing burnouts, Dad would throw a VB bottle at his car. On way too many occasions. Once we were walking, Dad and I, at North Entrance, and we were crossing the mouth. We were in waist deep water, and the current wasn't that fast. But we were walking on a sandbar and we hadn't realised. The sandbar dropped, and I was in the water, and I couldn't see where it was up or nothing. All it was bubbles and sand. Dad, the current was taking me at a faster rate than Dad, and all I could remember was a pain in my hip. I was going face down. Dad grabbed me from my ankle and lifted me up out of the water to get some air, and we were struggling. Dad was screaming and he called a surfer to grab us. I got to shore and then Dad swam like it was the coolest thing that ever happened. Like there was nothing. The event wasn't traumatic, but it was traumatic for everyone that was on the beach. That's my dad, the coolest guy ever. Simple things that he taught me were fishing, lighting a barbecue, cutting hot dog properly, using tools correctly without hurting myself, changing a tyre. What father shows you how to change a tyre correctly. All these things, the list goes on. I remember watching rugby league and following Parramatta. Unfortunately, I'm a Parramatta supporter because of my father. The committee. Dad is extremely proud of Joe Musa and the committee. It was something that he dreamt of, and your execution couldn't have come at a better time, connecting us all again together. Back to Dad. 6 years ago, Helen came knocking on our door. Dad was in the fight of his life. 100 people crowded the Maynard Hospital in North Sydney. Nurses were astonished by the support for Dad and couldn't eat any more Lebanese sweets. His operation was successful, and at that time, and thank you, Jesus, the cowboy was back. To Uncle George Tanus, brother-in-law of a lifetime, we are indebted to you for taking my father to all his appointments, coming back, giving me a full update, a full brief, and he never sugarcoated anything. His trip to America and Canada was something that he always spoke about, and I'm glad that he went with you. And then he met up with Auntie and Auntie Mana in Lebanon. Auntie Violet, you are his favourite. The bond that he had with all his siblings was so strong and amazing, it was astonishing. But I think, Auntie Violet, you are special. Your selflessness, genuine smile, gentleness are attributes similar to my dad's. If there's one thing I need to tell you, Auntie, is don't stay idle. Existing is not living. Keep moving. As soon as you get better, start living. As Dad's health began to deteriorate, he had no more gears. Trying hard not to keep moving as much as he could, he was limited but still rocked up to people's houses unannounced, family and friends. It didn't matter what area they were in, he just rocked up. Coffee moffy? That's what he would say, coffee moffy. He adored his 11 grandkids and mum, dressing up as Santa every Christmas Day, handing out presents and making my mum laugh and scream at the same time. His attire was something that needed to be changed all the time. When he'd get dressed for a wedding, my mum would send him back in the room and rechange his whole outfit. I knew the night before this was going to happen. We all did. He booked a one-way ticket without telling us. He fooled us. He went peacefully. It's hard for us to accept, but it was always God's plan and not ours. Dad's journey, not ours. The storyteller went peacefully and it showed in his face, but our hearts are shattered and broken forever. Thank you for all the calls, messages, visits, all the ladies, the food, the support, the text messages, the emails. Every message that I had, I still haven't gone through. I've probably got over 300 messages on my phone. Thank you for the support, and please continue to come to my mum and dad's house. Seeing all these friends, all these best friends, they know who they are. There's not one best friend. There's probably 30 close people that my dad would always rotate. To my dad's mates, you know that this door is always open for us. On a final note, as my dad Amigo would say, work hard, be positive, stay loyal, don't cheat, love all with your heart, and keep family and friends close, and always, always, always forgive. Thank you, everyone.
Amen.